Alright folks, if you've seen my other SteamOS videos, you might be familiar with this case. This was my SteamOS home theater PC chassis. And I say was because I actually haven't run SteamOS on it in about 2 months. I had a lot of problems with SteamOS crashing and basically just doing naughty things, so I decided to ditch it and go back to Ubuntu. But mouse and keyboard driven desktop environments are not conducive to home theater PCs, so I want to give SteamOS another try. So you may have gathered from the title of this video that I am making another Steam machine, or at least repurposing an existing one. This computer here is my existing gaming rig and workstation. This is the computer that I've made pretty much all of the videos on my channel with so far. You can see that it's water cooled, it's got a good graphics card and things in there. The reason why I have this out is that I'm taking the CPU out of that. And we're gonna slap it into this case. This is a really small case. I would like to use my water cooler in it, but I don't even think it'll work. So let's go ahead and bust this box open and see what this little tower's all about. And this is what it looks like on the inside. I don't want to move the camera, so let me get a little bit closer. Here's the power supply. Here's your cables and things. Notice there's no fans anywhere. Passively cooled, I guess. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure this will work for what I'm going for, but hopefully it will. So let's go ahead and take what's out of the other computer and let's see if it fits. I got the bastard in there, and as you can see, there's no room to do anything. All of the normal CPU coolers I have, they're all too damn tall, so I'm gonna have to figure something else out. Now, one thing that I will complain about this case is that you have to take the front piece off. Notice how it's obviously missing. And that wasn't exactly easy to do. I wouldn't say that it's hard, but it's a little more work than I would have expected. You pretty much have to do that to get any of these motherboards in there. And I'm a little worried that once I have this front piece back in, the RAM won't fit, but I guess we'll find out. So look at that, it turns out it fits just fine. Now it's time to put the case back together and see if everything works. Check this out. I think it's working. Now I have to say, this is pretty stinking cool. Things are a little cramped in there. Most of the cramping is actually coming from the wires from the power supply and things. But, you know, I think it's gonna work. Well, my AMD A10 processor didn't work, which means I have to go back to my A6 6400 puny little dual core processor. I think that the problem with this particular processor is that it has a 95 watt TDP and it's quad core, and it basically just asks too much out of the poor little power supply that's in there. Alrighty, sorry that the perspective is weird, but let's install SteamOS. Alright, here we go. English. Yes, I agree to the end user license agreement. So it's been about a week since the last part of this video, and the Antec Steam machine has been doing okay, but it is time for our very first upgrade. It's time to put an SSD in this thing because the startup times are just insanely long. And I think that has something to do with the dual core processor, but hopefully putting this SSD in there should help. Now, believe it or not, I was able to run the Steam machine with just this big honkin' heatsink, but I had to undervolt the processor and I lost a huge amount of performance. And when we try to watch a 1080p movie or play a game like Towerfall, the temperatures spike and it's just not good. So I was running this 50mm fan on the outside of the case blowing inwards, but that wasn't really practical, so I went ahead and bought a new fan. And it's this 40mm fan by Noctuna, which is a pretty good brand. The box is like the nicest box I've ever seen for a fan before. I mean, look at this thing. It opens on both sides and there's like instructions and all sorts of marketing material. There's all these different adapters and stuff. What is this, Noctuna? Or Noctua or something? Man, they went way overboard with their packaging. So the way I set it up here actually seems to work. I could actually easily put another one of these fans right here and then close the lid, and I could probably get away with overclocking. But as it stands, it's about 35 degrees Celsius. It's obviously running at idle. So let's go ahead and fire up a game and let's see how it does. So before we dive into the game footage, I wanted to show you guys what was happening in the BIOS. So you can see the CPU core voltage down at the bottom left. You can see all the other voltage down there too. But what's important is the actual CPU temperature at the top right. Right now at idle, we're sitting about 34 degrees Celsius. And I've got the CPU core clock at about 3.7. The stock clock is 3.9, so it's running a little bit slower than it normally would. So now let's go to the game footage. It goes without saying that games like Towerfall run just fine. And of course I'm playing Towerfall here with full graphics settings. So here's some footage of Spec Ops, which is a game that's like perfectly well suited to the Steam machine. But I've got the graphics here on the lowest settings, and I don't know if I would say that it's playable. The frame rate is probably in the mid-teens, maybe. I mean, you probably could get away playing this, and maybe if I overclock the processor and the integrated GPU, I might get better frames per second, but at this point, I don't know if I would really say this game is very playable. And of course, my very favorite SteamOS game, Chivalry Medieval Warfare. So the game is running at medium settings, and remember, the CPU itself is actually underclocked, and I mean, you can see that the game is running very stable frame rate, and it's very playable. And if you haven't played this game on your Steam machine or with the gamepad, you've got to give it a try. It takes some time getting used to the gamepad, but the gameplay is so fun. So that's going to wrap this video up. So at this point, I've basically created my very own Antec Steam machine. Now, I don't know if I would recommend this particular case that I used, which is the Antec ISK 110. Antec has a couple other cases that are in the ISK, the real small form factor size. And if you're looking for a real small form factor for your Steam machine, I would definitely look into the Antec ISK series. Really good build quality, and there are ones only marginally bigger than the 110 series that I have. So yeah, this was fun. Thanks for watching.